We'll go live on this. Hi everyone, Jerry McHugh Jr. here for this month's Improving Our San Juan IQ presentation. I want to thank you all for taking time to attend today. We know your time is valuable. I appreciate the opportunity to spend this time with you, sharing about the San Juan Basin. A couple of housekeeping questions or items. Submit questions in the chat box or raise your hand and we'll try to get those to you. Today we have a fascinating panel of experts commenting on the San Juan dry Mancos in the northern part of the basin. Our panelists bring geological and engineering experience directly to the table, who've worked directly on these projects and the development of the Mancos. You'll find this to be a real treat today, where this amazing resource holds for San Juan gas production. First, we've got Rich Bosher, geologist. He's worked extensive basins and has worked San Juan recently, brings a lot of expertise to San Juan Resources. That's my company. He'll give a geological rundown and a deposition of the Mancos, various members. Bob Brooks is a geological engineer, ex-Amoco, formerly with WPX, and was at the Mancos horizontal from day zero when they started to look at old vertical wells in the San Juan and the Piance and move those on. Anyways, we will also have George Coryell. He's a senior geologist with Robert L. Bayless, producer in the San Juan Basin. Bayless is involved in San Juan Basin Mancos Gallop resource play since drilling 3 wells in the early 2011, 2012. The company is currently working on expanding the proven horizontal gas production in the deep basin. And I'm Jerry McHugh Jr., owner, operator, president of San Juan Resources. We're a 30-year-old company in the San Juan Basin. We operate 40 wells and have interests in 200 non-ops exclusively in the San Juan Basin. We own approximately 35,000 of HBP and leasehold acreage in the Mancos oil and gas areas of the San Juan Basin. So without further ado, we'll get started with our sharing panel here. Let me see here where we are. Okay. This is a El Paso natural gas composite map of 1985. Shows the New Mexico Colorado border here, the trunk lines now owned by Kinder Morgan, taking gas out of the San Juan Basin. 80% went that way from Blanco Hub and this crucial selling point for the San Juan. And then 20% used to go this way. Now this is all Enterprise Products that has most of this gas, and Harvest has a lot of the gas gathering on the east. For our next slide, this is an overview of the, let me put this in slideshow format. Okay, there we go. There, that's much better. Oops, a little forehead. Okay, this just gives you an orientation of where we are with the San Juan Mancos. The gas windows here is in the northern part of the basin. BP with their 2-mile laterals is up here in the Nebu unit. They have of the 6 2-mile laterals, the average over 2 years is about 5.4 BCF. We'll talk about some of these drilled wells, and then WPX was in the Rosa area right here. They have the majority of the 1-mile laterals, and across the 7 1-mile laterals from this Blackhawk Hickory 724 well to Rosa wells here, those wells average out 1.9 BCF over 2 years. So our first panelist will be Rich. We'll move over to him and have him share next. Go ahead, Rich.
All right, thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that. So I've been doing the geology for Jerry for the past number of years, and the Mancos dry gas play is quite exceptional. Okay, so this first slide that Jerry's put on, this is a map of, it's on the Fruitland Coal structure, and it's a map of the San Juan Basin. And what sticks out here is there's three fluid phases here. You get gas basically in the northeastern part of the basin. And then as you're coming out of the basin structurally and less thermally mature, you get to NGL or gas to liquids phase, that's yellow. And then the final one down south and southwest is the oil phase. And all in the Mancos. And the oil phase, that's where WPX and kind of kicked off their lateral play of the Mancos oil and Gallup oil as well. And now it is Enduring and DEGR. But we're going to focus up in the gas play. You can see that axis, the blue axis that's going, the arrows that are going northwest, southeast. That's the deepest part of the basin. And the pay interval is roughly about 7,000 feet true vertical depth here. Okay, next slide, Jerry. And forward one, and yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this is just, I just want to give you a quick look at what the stratigraphic column looks like here. The Mancos shale, really throughout our area, is more than a few thousand feet thick. So it's a very thick interval of mostly marine type shales. And at the base, there's an upper Mancos and lower Mancos. And at the base of the upper Mancos, there's the productive interval, which is referred to by several names within industry. It's a transgressive, regressive, sandy, silty package that's kind of propagating out into the Cretaceous Seaway to the northeast, and the turgid sediments are back from the southwest. But when you look at that star, it's and it's on top of a basal Niobrara unconformity. If you look at that star, it's referred to as Elvado sandstone.
TV here, so.
Companies have called it the upper and lower Niobrara. It's equivalent to Niobrara, and I'll refer to it in some cases as that as well. It's referred to the A, B, and the C down at the west and east Puerto Chiquito field, and it's very widespread throughout the basin. But we're going to refer to it mostly with the nomenclature that WPX put to it, and primarily that's olive and black. Those are the two intervals which had laterals put into them. And there are also some other productive intervals on top of it, such as the red, that they put verticals into it. And I'll let Bob talk about that in a minute. But essentially, we'll take a look at what the logs look like. So we're just focusing on the lower upper Mancos interval. And just remember that it's kind of a fingering, pulsating, fine-grained sandstones and siltstones interbedded with Mancos shale. And primarily, we're going to look at the olive and the black zones. Okay, next slide, Jerry, please. This is the, if you look at the inset map on the bottom left, that's the basin, the San Juan Basin. The area of interest I'm going to talk about is the red circle. Excuse me. The purple outline is the Jicarilla Indian Reservation. We are off the reservation. We have acreage within the in this play as well, and we are just off the Jicarilla to the west. So let's take a look at the map, and the key areas that I'll talk about up to the top left-hand corner. That's the Rosa unit. That's where WPX kicked off the dry gas Mancos lateral play. And there's two wells which we'll focus on. They're 1 mile laterals. We project an EUR of 6 BCF or so, and in particular the 634A and the 634B. The A went through the olive interval, and the B went through the black interval. And just keep in mind here, look at the these were drilled in roughly 2010. If you look at like the cumes on these to date, 3.5 BCF for the A, and 3.6 BCF for the B. Now let's move down to the southeast, and we're going to cross over 30 North 4 West. And then, by the way, the yellow is San Juan Resources acreage, and as well, they're putting together a unit to drill the Mancos intervals here with laterals. But let's look first a little bit to the east of that, and that's in the Jicarilla Nation. And there's a well that was drilled in 2011 by Black Hills, which is now Black Hawk. It's part of the Indian Reservations kind of privatized group. But the Black Hills 724 horizontal, that is as well 1 mile lateral, 6 BCF EUR we project, and that has a 3.6 BCF cum to date on it. So we've basically gone over 3 townships here, and we have wells that are behaving almost identical to each other. So we're going to make the point throughout this presentation that the geology, the production, the deliverability is very, very, very consistent. Okay, next slide, Jerry. Thank you. So now I want to show you what the interval looks like basically on logs. So back at the road.
Your hand is over the screen. Can't see your face. There we go. It's a lot better.
I did that on purpose because it's early in the morning.
Okay. Well, it was getting worse as you went along.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
So we're now looking at a cross section that I put together right next to those 2 lateral wells that WPX drilled back in 2010, the 634 and the 634B. But first, before we get to those wells, let's take a look at the logs on the cross section. Those are from older vertical sections there. And on the left-hand side is going to be gamma ray and resistivity, and then the right-hand side will normally be, if I have them all, density neutron and density neutron porosity. So let's focus on the left-hand side, for example, of the Mabel C Centaur #1. And if you look at the resistivity curve, which is just, it's on the right side of that, and then the gamma rays on the left, you can see pulses in the resistivity curve, high resistivity showing up basically through this lower kind of upper Mancos section here, just where Jerry's pointing right there. And we'll show you a map in a few moments that mapping this high resistivity throughout the area. And this high resistivity, if you look over to the gamma ray, they correlate with little coarsening upward sequences on the gamma ray. And so what we're showing here is pulsating fingers of high resistive fine-grained sands and siltstones encased in Mancos shales. And the high resistivity is due also to the geothermal maturity of the rocks as well. So essentially, that is our pay zone, and that is what we map around the area here. And again, on the gamma ray, for example, on the 2 vertical wells, you can see the little coarsening upward sequence that's reflective of these fine-grained sands and siltstones. So the 2 intervals that WPX focused on, the olive, which is bounded with the green picks on the bottom, for example, and the Mabel C and the Rosa 14C wells, and then the green on the top. And then the black interval is that interval bounded by the black picks on top of that. And they went ahead and put the 634A in the olive zone, and they put the 634B in the black zone. And again, they did this because the high resistivity, the rocks there, the little coarsening upward sequences they found there would be most susceptible to fracking and producibility of the hydrocarbons here. So, Jerry, if you could move on to the next slide, please. And this will be my last slide here. This is a cross section that we put together from. If you look at the map, the blue dot up to top left, that's the WPX Rosa. We're going to take one of those vertical wells. We're going to take a well through the San Juan Resources area. And by the way, that San Juan Resources area in the middle of in 30 North 4 West, kind of the east half of 30 North 4 West. Bayless and George will talk about their acres just to the south of us in 29 North 4 West. And then we'll go all the way over to the Orange Star, which is the Black Hills well. And again, in this case, I have highlighted the olive interval, the black interval, and also the red interval, which WPX got some good recoveries from vertical wells they drilled. And again, if you look closely at these wells, you'll see basically the high resistive fine-grained sands and siltstones that can be mapped around the area, and the packages that correlate with the olive and the black We have the same geology within our area. And again, I want to just make the point, and again, this, you can see, I put on the left-hand side of the cross-section, I put on a WPX 640H, which is a 2-mile lateral, and we project that to be 13 BCF of gas. And then on the right-hand side, we've got the Black Hills well, which you've seen before, which is the 6 BCF. And again, I just want to point out, these rocks are very, very consistent, over basically, 3, 4, 5, and more within the area. So it's been it's been a real fun piece of geology to map around the area, and it's been very productive for others and hopefully for us as well. All right, thanks, Jerry. I think that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Bob Brooks, you're up next. Want to hit some of the high points on the geology and journey of the Mancos through your discoveries and analysis at WPX and the evolution of horizontal drilling. A fascinating story, as WPX really gets the lion's share of the credit for putting it out there on the horizontal gas and on the oil too. Rich, you might want to move your hand from the phone there. Still got your hand on there. Anyways, Bob, take it from here, and I'll give you control of the screen as well. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Thanks for the great background on the geology and the petrophysics. I appreciate that. I think that just points out one thing on this entire play, that it was really a team effort, and we wouldn't be here talking today without the, all the tremendous effort of geologists and geophysicists and petrophysicists and engineers that have worked on this interval for many years, and even though I was in on the start of the focus on the horizontals, there was work stretching back for decades before. So we stand on the shoulders of giants in this industry. We're really lucky. So Jerry, do I have control now?
Yes, you do.
Okay, great. Let's see.
Just waiting for you to take it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to take it, and it was giving me a gripe. Let me try that again. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Okay. Do I have it now?
Click here.
Yeah. Maybe it's one of those I have to click on my screen or something. I think I'm good now.
You're there now. You're there
Yeah,
now.
I think it was the had to click on my screen sort of thing. Okay. Sorry, guys. So as this is a key slide because it presents the play in context. And just to point out a few things real quickly here, as Jerry pointed out, and as Rich went into some of the detail, Williams/WPX did a tremendous amount of work up here in the Rosa unit, and I was part of that team doing that effort from vertical wells to understand the play before we went horizontal. And we did that obviously preceding 2010 when we landed 2 1-mile laterals in the olive and the black zones. Immediately thereafter, Black Hills, which is now Black Hawk, right adjacent to Jerry's McSims unit, landed a well, also 1 mile in length. And as we've seen, as I'll show further, all these wells have identical results, essentially identical. I mean, as identical as you'll ever see in a resource play. And this should have been too much of a surprise because I had, with the help of others, looked at wells almost all the way from Durango for a span of 60 miles. We had legacy vertical wells, and it was remarkable that those wells, by and large, were all in the range of 0.1, 0.2 BCF EURs. And as you kind of squinted your eyes and looked through the data, you could see the similarity of the production across, hundreds and hundreds of square miles with this early data. Later on, WPX came back in 2015, drilled some additional wells at Rosa, and finally in 2017, BP over at Nebu, which is the big large unit just to the west of Rosa, drilled horizontal wells that were 2 miles, and they also had a much higher density fracking, which is very important. And really the basis of my talk is what can we do with 2-mile laterals that have higher frac density? So key attributes of the play, which we've really hit upon already: the simple structural setting, the stratigraphic continuity, and the consistent pale, which Rich has shown us. We talked about the original 3 wells being 5,000 foot and now having 10,000 foot laterals, and that's how we envision the play going forward, is with 10,000 foot laterals and with as many as 70 frac stages per 10,000 foot lateral. And we talked about this as well, about this is a time zero plot, so putting all these 3 original wells, 3 horizontal wells on the same basis. And we see the WPX Rosa wells and then the Black Hill well, and just see the similarity over time of about a 7 million IP. And we can see that they're all extending now out 5 years, shown here, with virtually identical rate versus time behavior. Now we use that in decline curve analysis, of course, with such a good smooth rate versus time history. You can make a reliable extrapolation of the forecast, and we get a 5.8 BCF well here, looking at the 634A. And this is going to be the well that I focused on, was the 634A, but obviously we could have done much the same with either the 634B or the Black Hills well. Well, there is consistency, but there's some range of uncertainty, and we captured that in our analysis here, just showing examples of permeability being one of the things that we've ranged, the number of effective frac stages and frac length, and then the number of that spread of hydraulic fractures. So we took all this into account when we considered our distribution. So really the takeaway here is that we have the tools, and that using these tools we can with confidence evaluate the performance of longer laterals and having those more intense hydraulic fracture stages. What that gives us, of course, is the wonder of rate acceleration, coupled with the net present value. Of course, we all know that the quicker that we can get that gas out of the ground, the more value that gas has to us. And it's of course an optimization scenario, because as fracs get cheaper as they are right now, we can afford to have more fracs per well. And this shows how that turns out in this is cumulative production versus time. And you can see that by 5 years, we've produced over half of the gas. And so that rate acceleration is very significant benefit to our economics. And so the takeaway then is this more intense fracking is a big help to our economics. Now here's what we're showing is the range of EURs for a 10,000 foot lateral. The mean is 13 BCF, just a little bit above that. 90% of the time, we're going to get nearly an 11 BCF well. And 10% of the time or greater, we'll get almost 16 BCF. So that is showing that 80% confidence interval. And one of the remarkable things, though, with the Mancos play is that this is a relatively tight P10, P90, and that is remarkable when we consider geology, petrophysics, engineering all coming together. We still have a relatively narrow range in expectations, and that's something we'll take advantage of as we develop this play. And we've shown this, and I won't hit on this in the interest of time, other than to once again remark on the consistency over a wide distance in the Mancos dry gas play. we put together a rate forecast, of course, tied with those that created those EURs. This is a range of those forecasts that we made, and one of the things to note is that we considered a wellbore limitation of 15 million a day, and so with that limitation, we were flat for 8 months of production with our 70 frac stages. 15 million a day flat for 8 months before we rolled off and went on decline. And how does that compare to reality? Well, BP drilled their first well in 2017 at Northeast Blanco unit was the 602 1H well, and that well, as we're showing here, was flat for 12 million a day for 7 months. It was a little bit shorter well. It wasn't quite the 10,000 foot that I modeled, and it wasn't quite the frac intensity that I modeled. And I think that largely explains why it's 12 million and not 15 million. But when you consider the distances we're covering, and again our 80% confidence interval, it certainly falls within our 80% confidence interval that we would have. And so it's the takeaway from this is that our model results are consistent with the actual results we're seeing. So takeaways for the play is that we've got this robust subsurface data, that we got pervasive gas saturation. The gas saturation is obviously very high. We have no, sorry, my.
I hit the wrong button, sorry.
Okay, thanks. Back to this, but I'll be brief. Pervasive gas saturation, high pore pressure. It's an overpressured play. We have very high world-class permeability in these Mancos pay intervals. We have very thick packages over the entire basin. It's actually thickening though towards the McSims unit, and then as George is going to talk about, it's thickening in the direction of the Bayless unit immediately to the south of the McSims. We have a good net to gross. We have the ability to complete these zones and pump all of our frac stages to completion. And as I remarked, 90% of the time we'll have nearly 11 BCF EUR or greater. And that's, of course, a great benefit both to economic development and then risk management. So I think it's back to you, Jerry.
Okay, great. That was great, Bob. Thanks for your succinct rundown. I know we talked about maybe in the next 4 to 6 months having a more in-depth technical presentation on the San Juan IQ. So we can talk about that.
Yeah, there's certainly plenty of technical geology, petrophysics, and engineering completion that we can talk about.
Okay.
To everybody's heart's content.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. Our next, I'm going to jump in here with a rundown of San Juan Resources' proposed McSims unit. It's adjacent to the Black Hawk Energy Jicarilla 724 well right here. Development of the unit will be on 2 NEPA-approved pads, which are located here and here. We spent considerable amount of time and effort to get these surfaces approved under NEPA regulations, which are in the Carson National Forest here. You have Jicarilla Reservation here to the east and Carson here to the west. Our first obligation well would be something like this, 2-mile lateral only through the olive zone for development. We'd anticipate black drilling as well. Each horizon in this scenario would show that we're just showing the lower olive zone, which is 660 feet wells from each other. There'd be a wine rack scenario with the black in between these olive wells here in this development. In this area, there's a legacy of obviously pipelines that have been here since the 1950s and 60s. Like I said on that original El Paso map I showed you, a lot of these are the old Northwest, which became Williams, and is now Harvest lines in the area. Pick up Picture Cliffs and Dakota wells, and maybe some vertical Mancos, but mainly wells like that. And then Enterprise is also on the map here with this line here, picking up wells in the Carson. Primarily what's a benefit in our area is that Blackhawk, the former Black Hills pipeline, comes off a processing plant here, gathering these wells in the Jicarilla, and they move gas to the Cabresto pipeline. We have our archaeology all hooked up to these, the Cabresto line, or at least we have it surveyed. We don't have it hooked up, but we're ready to go. And this is an 80 million per day line capable of taking gas out to the Lahara interconnect. Let's see here. Okay, wanted to orientate you then now. This is the McSims unit, which we just talked about. And I'll turn this now over to George with Bayless. He'll talk about the Bayless Lahara unit to the south down here. And I'll turn this screen over to you, George. So you've got the screen now, sir.
I think I have it. Yep. Whoops.
Let me, hold on a sec here. Let me make sure we're on the right thing.
Clicked on it. Let me click on the screen again.
There we go. Let's go. Is that working?
Yeah, I think so. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. And yeah, as people have mentioned, and I thank them for it, is we're just south of the McSims unit. And thanks to Rich and Bob for explaining the reservoir engineering and the geology in pretty thorough fashion, as succinctly as possible. Go back up here. There we go. Okay, so this is our proposed Lahara Mancos unit. We have this pad right in here. That's an approved location for 16 wells, 16 laterals. Yeah. Is that it? Who's yeah, okay. And we have this is set up. Okay, who's doing that? Is that me? Okay, hang on. There we go. Got it. Okay, thank you. So we have there's the pad location right here, and we have a approved location for 16 wells, and that would be 8 wells. I think I got that, Jerry. In there? I think I got that, yeah. We have an approved location for 16 wells and 8 wells to the west and 8 wells to the east. 2-mile laterals to the west and 1.5-mile laterals to the east. These are set up to be alternating between the black and the olive zones in a wine rack type of configuration. And in about essentially within the same zone, right now we're thinking of a 660 spacing within zone, and so an alternating system would be actually from a map view, there'd be 330 between each lateral. And the reason we're thinking this is that indications are that the parent-child relationship in this play is when the child is drilled, you'll realize virgin flush rates. And that the effect on the parent is that there'll be a corresponding increase to near original rates in the parent. And this is really, we think, the nature of the rubblization from fracking, and that there is so much darn gas in the system in here. See if I can get this to move now.
There you go.
Thank you. This is an anti-collision diagram showing the 16 wells as planned, and really what this shows that we drill an S-curve to the turning point location here, and then we drill build a negative section to come back underneath the pad or in line with the pad. And the purpose of this is to create an effectively continuous 3.5-mile lateral horizontal well. And for no loss, this creates no loss of productive zone along the entire 3.5-mile length here. So that's the purpose of that, to be as effective and conserve resources as much as possible here. So this is, I guess, what we call the phase 2 expansion of the plan of development. And but really this adds another 16 wells to the south of the original 16, and then another six to the north. And what really is interesting about this, and I think important to the development of the whole unit, is that we only use 2 additional locations down here to the south, in addition to the original pad, to develop to this point. And these locations, and as with all the other little blue dots you through here, are utilizing existing non-producing pads. And we feel that, we believe, and planning-wise, we believe that just these additional non-producing pads here will enable a full development of the entire unit. And really, the whole point of this is to reduce footprint and consideration of archaeological and environmental sensitivities in here. So I'd turn it back to you, Jerry. I think that's what I have to say here.
Yeah, I had a question too. You talked about the approvals you had from the government. Do you have the same surface NEPA approval that we have up north on yours?
Well, this is Forest Service.
That's right.
Surface rights here and land. So that's who we have the approval from.
Okay.
And of course, it's BLM Minerals for the most part underneath here. And this was created back when we were going to hearings in 2018, and at that time we did have a BLM approved APD for the first well in this unit.
Okay. One other question somebody had was, where's the market for production from these wells? And I think what we've looked at is one of the key ingredients of the Mancos play in the San Juan Basin, and that's the resource, incredible resource, which is here. I think as prices get in, at least from our perspective at San Juan Resources, as they get in the high 270s for San Juan Basin, high $2, $2.60, 80 cents, that the economics begin to work here. I know that the Western states and tribal nations are having an initiative to promote Rocky Mountain Gas, Jason Sandel's group with Aztec Well Servicing, and that's a regional group to help promote natural gas really to the world, West Coast and to the world. So we do have some advantages, but the ingredients, one of the key ingredients is the resource that is really well proved up, and this panel has shown it. I think that's about all that we have for today. Appreciate, again, thank you all, Rich, George, and Bob, really for your time and your expertise contributing to our huge Mancos gas panel. And well, we're going to take some suggestions from our viewers on next couple months. Are we going to be looking at the Mancos oil window? Where are we now? What's up with the new San Juan Basin operators? There's a lot of new operators out there. and also look at some takeaway issues with the San Juan, because we know that BP had to get a lot of their gas over to Val Verde, and it took a lot of effort to do that. So many challenges. Again, thanks for your presentation, everybody, and we'll see you next time. This is Jerry McHugh with San Juan Resources. Bye for now.